So it's been a bumper crop of scams this week. I actually happened to be talking to someone on LinkedIn about SMS bank scams, and one of my friends sent me this. We're seeing on the screen here. Thanks, Warner. That's actually kind of made my day. This one's really cool. I'm actually really impressed with how this one looks. Whoever built this website and such actually went above and beyond of what I normally see from a scam website. So what we're kind of discussing with my friend on LinkedIn was uh, we're seeing more and more scams come through voice or text these days because the mail filters have gotten so good at actually kind of weeding things out through things like SPF, DKIM, DMARC, just general heuristic matching on words. You see like the word gift card enough times, eventually mail filters can go, that's probably not legit because you're not really using that in that way. So we're seeing more of these things coming straight to the person through, say, voice or text, because those will usually bypass any, like, if you're talking enterprise grade corporate stuff, businesses, they'll usually have several layers of defense between the end user and the scammer. But they can bypass almost all those by going straight to the person through usually cell phones. They'll call them using automated systems. This is what I actually hear a lot these days, or just texts. Uh, Texts are very popular because they're very inexpensive. They're low risk, high reward. You can send off a million of these things and not have to worry about anything from their side. What they'll normally do is they will find a way of either spoofing a line or spoofing a cell phone and texting that way, or what they'll usually do is through Facebook, they'll say, send me, I want to buy something, you have to send me a 6-digit code to show that you are you, and that they actually use that. You see in the Google Voice scam in one of my earlier blog entries, that's used to spoof your line. It's actually spoofing it, but it's telling Google Voice that you own that they own that number, and then they can start sending out using that, so they can line up like 20 or 30 of these or however many of these Google Voice lines and send out using these. So all that aside, let's dig into this one a little bit. So the text actually came in through this. I haven't looked too much at this numbers. That is, let's pull up carrier lookup here. So I'm using my cybersecurity lab, my trusty throwaway computer. So let's see, just for giggles. So we got this phone number here. Let's see who owns this line. I'm not a robot. I don't think I'm a robot, but I'm never sure. Okay, look up here. Let's see who this is. Oh, my T-Mobile. So it doesn't actually tell me who owns the line, but it tells me what carrier it's being used by. In this case, it is a cell phone owned by T-Mobile. These T-Mobile, I've been seeing this a lot from. Nothing against T-Mobile. It's just I'm seeing more scam or spoofing, like whatever this is. These texts come from T-Mobile lines. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or what, but that's something of note. But so we've got looking at this text, a couple of obvious flags here. If you're looking at Chase is got C.H. The little dots there. What they do that is to break it up. It's just making it harder for if you do have a spam filtering on your texts, which is becoming more popular these days. It kind of makes it harder on those. The better ones are still can go, hey, this looks a little weird here. Those little dots are not going to break it up. That's why you'll sometimes see text that have like a ton of weird characters, like a lot of umlauts and tildes and such like that. Generally the non-English speaking accents and such. They're trying to get around the mail filters, or not the mail filters, but the spam filters for SMS like this. Um, they'll get better. So it's kind of an arms race there between the scammers and the not scammers. Everyone else trying to prevent this sort of thing from coming through. So you got this. That's an obvious something's wrong here. Uh, no, it's interesting. This one doesn't really have any spelling issues or weird grammar. That's usually a indicator of all these things. This one is actually pretty well made. Someone put some time into this. I mean, not a whole lot of time, but it's still more effort than you usually see. But it is, again, you look at this website and go, that's not Chase. I mean, that's obviously not Chase. It's kind of random enough to be almost believable to be a Chase server, because sometimes these banks use kind of weird, just weird addresses. But I mean, if in doubt, like, don't trust it. You should always go to chase.com directly or call them using the phone number on the back of your card. That's what I actually recommend in all these cases. If you get an SMS like this from your bank, from your your power company, from any customer, any vendor or a company you work with, don't go by whatever they've sent you here. Go by what you know is their good thing. Look it up and look on Google and say LG&E or whatever, and make sure you go to their website, not another spoof website, because that just kind of exacerbates the issue. At least in credit cards, such there's always on the back of the card you have that known good phone number. So in this case, yeah, this is definitely that's wrong. That's wrong. And you can see I blanked out part because he was responding back to that, and I didn't want that information to get out. So let's take a look at this one. I've already got it pasted over here to make it easier on myself. We'll pull up our browser. Now, I actually have already looked at this one, so I'm not going in blind. And I was really impressed with how much effort they put into this. So immediately you can look and say, this is not Chase's bank website. So we went from this urew3.us over to this -obar.pan7 blah blah blah. So not Chase. It's as far as the site is actually pretty well made. That looks like Chase's colors. Let's pull up chase.com and see how much they actually match the branding. So yeah, the blue is pretty close by my eyes. I mean, it's like a couple shades off, but it's pretty close. They got the logo right. They probably pulled that straight off their website. I mean, it's easy enough. You just pull off somewhere off here, but it's well done. Like it's as far as scam websites go, they put some time and effort into making this. We'll see a little more here. That actually is why I'm so impressed with this. Let's take a look at if you are either Killbot tracking services. Well, that's now I'm curious about what that is. What is Killbot tracking services? Deck blocks. Okay, well, I will look at that later. That's really curious on what that is, and I want to know. So we'll play with that later on. So let's look at this. So we're on this isolated throwaway computer, so we can actually play with this a bit. And this is something I think is really cool. So I have my throwaway legend, my fake identity over here. I'm gonna paste these in. Now let's watch this. It's actually really cool here. So you got this chase thing up here. It actually enters it in a blank. It reads out the required fields. That's actually really well done. See, actually, I like that. As far as scams go, they put some effort into this. I have to applaud them for their ingenuity, the amount of effort that went into. It's like they actually add that on there, and it shows up. Throw some random numbers in here. So they put some effort into making this thing look good. So I was like, I don't want to gush too much about how impressed I am with this, but as far as these things normally go, this is actually really well done. I dropped my address line here. My fake one is not out of Las Vegas, actually out of Lockwood, Nevada, but I'm gonna go with it. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't put someone's real information in here because I don't want to mess with someone that really exists. So my legends here are designed to be not to an existing address. It's close enough to look like an address, but it's not a real address. The next, that's kind of see I like the little spinning logo. Chase Bank actually does that. That's kind of neat. So what they're doing now is they're trying to say that our car has been deactivated and needs to be reactivated. So we're going through the steps of supposedly, in quotes, reactivating our card. So at that point, this from our previous page, they actually got this credit card information. So they have gathered that, and now they're going to claim, okay, we have all the credit card information, which has been sent to the scammers, I assume, and they're probably like, yeah, they got enough information off that to really start spending our money, our fake, not real money. But they've already got a lot off that on its own. So what they're going to do next is they're going to try to verify RD again in air quotes here, where they can do more with it, so they can not only spend the money off of our fake card, but they can actually make social engineering or selling these identities to other people to do whatever bad, nefarious things they do. So this is our date of birth. Let me pull up my legend here. It says 06031970. Uh, I do like how it just works for this sort of thing. I mean, as far as scam websites go, this is really well done. A little shading there is not entirely happy with, but I mean, whatever. So now in that last one, they gathered enough information to do some pretty nasty stuff. So they got a name, a social security number, a birth date, and maiden name. They only signed up for, well, literally anything, mortgages or bank accounts or credit cards or literally anything. The information they gathered there is enough to make an identity, to go onto a website or to go to anywhere and say, my mother's maiden name is this, my birthday is this, my social security number is this. They can make another identity or use information to open things in your name now. So that's a big bad. So things you don't want to happen. And you go a step further with this, where they're actually saying we want proof of your identity. So these are things that a real bank would want, but they would have you come in person. And I've never seen a bank to date want these things over the web. They'd always want you to come into the physical bank to prove that you are who you are. So but this still, I mean, visually, this looks good. This looks like something you would expect to see from a legitimate company. So it's like they have good stencils of the graphics and the flow. That part right there looks a little weird, but that's being nitpicky. So if you're gonna I got a fake driver's license here. I pulled off of like fakes.nevada or whatever. Let's throw it on there. That drag and drop, I mean, definitely, as you can see, that's obviously my fake license. I literally Googled fake Nevada driver's license. So you can buy those pretty easily. But so that they're asking for a driver's license and asking for a selfie. You can do a lot with that. I mean, they can impersonate this person fairly easily if this weren't, fake. The drag and drop little widget here, that's not hard to do for a good web developer. That's a very common technology, but that they implemented it and they did it so well, kudos to them for that. So now they want a selfie. Again, I'm not giving them a real picture. I'm just gonna drop it again. They're not actually gonna verify or tell anything. But I do like that they did pretty well with this and process this. This actually looks pretty good. So what's done is supposedly, I mean, they actually captured information, said, yeah, we did this, and now we're redirecting you since you are verified, and it takes us to the actual Chase Bank. So this, as far as confidence scams go, this is kind of the kiss off, where we got a text saying that our account has been deactivated when you reactivate it. We've gone through these steps to, in quotes, reactivated it, and it sends us over to Chase Bank. So as far as a person that doesn't know they're being scammed knows, they just successfully reactivated their card and they're back on Chase Bank doing normal stuff because this website is legit Chase Bank. So they can actually log in now. No, that is as far as scams go, this one does pretty well on. I mean, it kind of falls down on this part where at a glance or the sniff test you can go, yeah, this is fake. But if this part gets you and you do move on to the part where this guy's gathering information, it looks good enough to bring you in and take your information, and then you think you've reactivated your card and it takes you to Chase Bank, and you do log in and say, oh, I did it. There's no reason for me to call my bank now because I did reactivate it. Your card was never actually turned off. It was just you provided all your information to the scammer. So obviously, that's bad. You don't want that because with the amount of information this scammer gathered from my fake account here, if this were a real person, they could do some very serious damage. Home address, phone number, age, maiden name, social security number, credit card information. Within a day, they could do damage that would take someone years to back out. Especially if they totally trash your credit rating or open accounts in your name, bank accounts, so that they can launder money through handle other scams. So that's the kind of thing you see. Pierogi and Jim do some great work on. If you look at YouTube for these guys, I highly recommend it, where they show the physical aspect of these scams, where when these people take this money, they have to get it back to them. In this case, they will send it to through a laundering method of either through someone else's bank account to get it to themselves, or through a money mule where they will do something with it, usually put it into a bank account and send it overseas back to India or wherever it's going, so that you'll never get it back. That's kind of the goal there, is to send this money as quickly as possible before you kind of go twig on something and go, hey, this is wrong, and you kill it. So they want to move fast. So when this scam really happens, you have a very small window of opportunity to really shut it down before the damage is done. In many cases, as low as hours or less, like an hour, because once they have this information, if they are watching it, if this is one person, this particular scam, I doubt it's one person. It's probably a group of people. Because a lot of scams now are not just a one person in a basement. Like the idea of like a guy wearing a hoodie in a dark basement doing this is not accurate. That's really kind of an old way of thinking about it. That's what you used to see like back in the day when like the Hackers movie and such like that. That's really not what it is now. Hacking and scamming now is a legit not legitimate is a business. They have their own markets, their own uh, standards, their own way of handling things to where it behaves as a business, to where a lot of these scam groups have a organizational structure. There is a boss who pays his people and they do the work. Though if someone's watching as this fake information came in, they're immediately turning it around and doing their bad things with it. So you have very little time to make this right. So when this sort of thing happens, if you do get caught by this, so of course look at this and go, yeah, this is wrong. This is wrong. If you do happen to click through this, or you know someone who's clicked through this and give this information to them, they need to immediately contact their bank and start backing this out. The bank will usually have good resources for telling you who to contact next, because they really are going to want to get ahead of this as quickly as you can. Your insurance company is a good way for that as well. They both have good fraud departments who are used to handling this sort of thing, so they can kind of lead you in the right way. Locking down your credit report immediately is a good thing. I would say contacting the FBI would be a good idea, but realistically, I have not seen that ever go anywhere unless it's big money and a business is involved. Unfortunately, the FBI has a finite amount of resources, and handling this sort of scam is not something they would normally handle. They want to, I assume, but they have to handle things that are unfortunately they got to triage these things and go to things that are more critical to them, uh, where millions of dollars are being lost instead of just one person. And as much as that sucks, they have to make the best use of their resources, and unfortunately, that's kind of how it works. So until laws go into place that kind of really curtail this and make the risk not worth it to the bad guy's reward, this sort of thing will continue happening. So until then, we really have to educate ourselves on the best way of looking for these things, and unfortunately, be paranoid and don't trust what you see on the internet. Even though in this case, yeah, it was not necessarily being originally on the internet, it came through a text, but it led to the internet. Granted, these things can just exist just straight through text. You see this sort of thing through Facebook Messenger and things like that these days. But as a rule, uh, if it comes to and it's not like even a person, there is a healthy level of paranoia. There's a point where you got to go, yeah, this seems a little weird. If there's even a tiny smidge of a gut feeling going, this seems wrong, follow up on that. I would never give personal information, especially this sort of identifying personal information to someone or to a website that you don't know explicitly is trustworthy. Always in doubt, call your company, your vendor, your bank account, your whoever directly, or even go in. I mean, if you really don't want to trust that much, the bank is much happier you coming in and you telling them, hey, this looks weird to you. Me, does it look weird to you? And they go, yeah, that's not us. They are much happier to deal with that with a 5 or 6 minute conversation than 4 or 5 or 8 hours of them trying to back out this problem. That's actually something Internet as my company we believe in as a whole as well, is if if you contact us and you want to tell us and go, hey, this looks weird to me, we would much rather spend 30, 40 seconds looking at this thing going, hey, yes, it's legit or not, than you paying us 4 to 8 hours or whatever of our time to back out or to try to fix this, especially with things like ransomware and viruses. We would much rather you be safe and never have the problem than relying on us to fix it. We would rather prevent the problem from ever happening in the first place. That's a much better thing. So, is it wrapping all this up? This, as far as scams go, this one was really impressive. Uh, the website looked really good. If I were a, that's actually an interesting niche. If I were a scam reviewer, this one is probably an 8 out of 10 for me. They did well building this thing. But the flags to watch for here, watch the Chase thing, definitely. The weird website thing. Getting a text from your bank is kind of weird too. I know some actually do use text to notify you of things, so that's not unheard of, but it is unusual enough that I wouldn't trust it. I would call. And when we go over to the website, as we saw, when it actually took us to the website, it did not take us to the legit website. It takes us to this, whatever this is, publicvm.com, which kind of, let's see if I can. Let's see what it looks like. It probably doesn't go anywhere. Yes, it doesn't actually exist. Sort of. I mean, there's just no website there. The server exists. So again, that's not Chase. So kind of how you read these things. .com, .net, .org is the tuple domain. So look for that. Those will almost always exist uniquely in the name. All this stuff is just arguments being passed to the website. So top level domain, the actual domain name, and then you have subdomain information. So even though you might have like .com, public VM, Chase over here, that's not Chase's website. So .com is our top level, and this is the domain name. So internetic.net, .com, chase.com, AOL.com. That's kind of dating my age there a little bit, but you get the idea. Again, as I say, just because it's just because on the web, don't trust it. Always look at this address up here. Let's do a quick look at, just for giggles, let's see what our certificate actually registered to. So they actually do have a certificate registered to this. So something to keep in mind a lot of time is to look at the SSL certificate status of a website. Chase.com especially will have a verified certificate. That means is valid, is issued to JP Morgan Chase. So in SSL certificates, you have to request a certificate from a company that issues these things out. And so it's like, yeah, this one is issued to chase.com and is verified by this company. So it's like having basically a license or a passport saying, this is who I am, I really, really promise you, because this shows it here. So in this case, when we come over and look at connection secure, certificate is valid. It does have a valid certificate, so it does show the little symbol here, but is not chase.com. This issued to publicvm.com through cPanel. So that's probably a self-certificate, a self-issued certificate, which for our point here, it does not actually matter. It just means that it is not issued to chase.com. So those are things you kind of want to watch for. The broken text, normally you want to watch for poor grammar and spelling. In this case, they actually were spot on. The Chase website in the text, the Chase website in the web address, and the SSL certificate. So as always, stay safe out there. The fight where scammers continues. I'll keep doing my best about these. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, always contact us, John Miller, at 888-526-1631. See y'all.